Stop measuring age by birthdays, because the most honest measure of how old you are is not written on a calendar. It is written in how your body rises, how your brain responds, how your energy returns, and how confidently you move through ordinary life. I am Dr. Sophia Lagana, and after decades of working with older adults, I can tell you something with complete certainty. I have met people in their mid-60s who were already surrendering to decline, and I have met people in their late 70s and early 80s who had more steadiness, sharper thinking, and more joy than many people 20 years younger. The difference was not luck, it was not magical genetics, and it was not some secret treatment hidden from the public. Again and again, the difference came down to a group of specific abilities that reveal whether someone is merely getting older or truly aging well. Modern research keeps pointing to the same conclusion. Functional ability predicts independence better than almost any number people obsess over at the doctor's office. Blood work matters, of course. Medical history matters. But what often tells the deeper truth is whether your body and brain can still perform the small essential tasks of living. Can you get up? Can you balance? Can you remember? Can you recover? Can you still look forward to tomorrow with real energy? Those questions tell the real story. Today, I am going to walk you through 8 abilities that strongly signal healthy aging. If you can still do these things, your body is sending a remarkable message about resilience, longevity, and neurological strength. And if some of these abilities have started to fade, do not panic, because the most important truth in healthy aging is that decline is not always destiny. Much of what weakens can be trained. Much of what slows can improve. Much of what feels lost can often be rebuilt with the right habits. And I want to tell you right now, number 2 on this list surprises almost everyone. It is rarely discussed in routine appointments, almost never advertised by companies trying to sell quick fixes, and yet it is one of the most revealing signs that your brain is still deeply alive. So stay with me, because that one may change how you think about aging forever. Before we begin, tell me this in the comments. How old are you right now, and which daily activity still makes you feel the most alive? Walking, cooking, gardening, dancing, reading, stretching, prayer, anything. I love hearing what keeps people connected to life, because those details matter more than most people realize. We are counting down from number 8 to number 1. From impressive to extraordinary. And if you can still do all 8, you are not just doing well for your age. You are functioning at a level that deserves real respect. Let's begin. Number 8. You can get down to the floor and rise back up without using your hands. This sounds simple until you actually test it. But this one movement combines leg strength, hip mobility, core stability, coordination, and confidence all at once. It is not just a flexibility trick. It is a full-body assessment hidden inside an ordinary action. Why does it matter so much? Because one of the greatest turning points in later life is what happens after a fall. Many adults do not lose independence from a major disease first. They lose it after a bad fall, then a fear of falling, then reduced movement, then muscle loss, then even greater weakness. The downward spiral often begins with a single moment the body could not handle. Being able to lower yourself to the floor and rise again tells us your muscles can still produce force, your joints can still move through useful ranges, and your nervous system can still coordinate complex movement. That is a powerful sign of preserved function. I remember a woman in her 70s who told me the hardest part of her second fall was not the bruising, it was the humiliation of realizing she did not trust her own body anymore. That sentence stayed with me, because loss of confidence becomes loss of movement, and loss of movement quickly becomes loss of independence. Rebuilding the ability to get up from the floor helped restore much more than strength. It restored dignity. Here is your practice. Twice a week, sit on the floor on purpose. Cross your legs if comfortable, roll to one side if needed, and practice getting back up with as little assistance as possible. Use a sturdy chair nearby for safety, but let your body relearn the pattern. Add simple squats, step-ups, and daily walking, and this ability often improves faster than people expect. Number 7. You can stand on one leg for at least 10 seconds. This may look like a tiny challenge, but it reveals something enormous. Balance is not just about ankles. It is the product of communication between your eyes, inner ear, joints, spinal cord, cerebellum, and deep stabilizing muscles. When balance is weak, the problem is rarely in one place. It usually means the whole system is losing efficiency. That is why balance problems are so important. They are often one of the earliest visible signs that the brain and body are not communicating as clearly as they used to. A person may still feel mostly fine, but subtle instability during dressing, turning, stepping off curbs, or reaching for objects can reveal the beginning of much larger changes. I want you to think of balance as conversation. Your brain is asking every part of your body, where are we right now? Are we safe? Are we centered? Healthy balance means those answers come back quickly and clearly. Poor balance means the message is delayed, distorted, or incomplete. That is why a single shaky moment on one leg can reveal so much. The good news is that balance responds beautifully to training. Stand on one leg while brushing your teeth. Hold a countertop at first if needed. Practice 30 seconds on each side. As you improve, reduce support. Later, try gentle heel-to-toe walking or standing on a folded towel to challenge the system further. Balance is trainable because the nervous system is adaptable. Use it, and it sharpens. Ignore it, and it dulls. Number 6. You can walk a quarter mile without needing to stop and rest. A quarter mile is not a marathon. It is only a few city blocks. But that distance tells us a lot about the cardiovascular system, the lungs, the muscles, and the body's ability to produce energy efficiently. Walking endurance is one of the clearest everyday windows into biological age. As people get older, one of the first things that quietly declines is aerobic capacity. The body becomes less efficient at taking in oxygen, delivering it to tissues, and converting it into useful energy inside the muscle cells. That is why some people begin to feel older before they look older. Their energy systems are weakening. Walking regularly fights back against that decline. It stimulates circulation, supports blood sugar control, maintains leg strength, improves mood, and helps preserve mitochondria, the tiny energy factories inside your cells. When you walk consistently, you are not just burning calories. You are teaching your body to remain energetically alive. And there is another reason this matters. Walking is one of the few forms of movement that feeds almost every major system at the same time, without asking for complicated equipment, a gym membership, or an athletic history. It is simple enough to start almost anywhere, yet powerful enough to change how someone ages. This week, test yourself outdoors if you can. Walk 4 blocks at a steady pace without stopping. Notice not just whether you finish, but how you finish. Are you upright, comfortable, and present, or exhausted and desperate to sit? That answer matters. Then build from there. Number 5. You can do a physical task and a mental task at the same time. For example, can you walk while holding a real conversation? Can you cook while listening and responding thoughtfully? Can you organize the house while planning tomorrow's errands in your mind? This ability is called dual tasking, and it is one of the most revealing tests of healthy cognitive aging. Many people assume brain decline only shows up as forgetting names or misplacing objects. But often, one of the earlier changes is that the brain struggles to manage multiple streams of information at once. Movement starts demanding more attention. Thinking becomes more effortful. The person slows down when conversation and action must happen together. That matters because life is almost always dual-tasked. We walk while talking. We think while reaching. We listen while navigating. A brain that can coordinate movement and cognition simultaneously is still maintaining strong networks across multiple regions. I have seen adults who looked physically strong in a clinic hallway, but the moment we added a conversation, a counting task, or a decision while walking, their pace changed completely. The body was moving, but the brain was overloaded. That kind of slowdown is useful information because it tells us where support is needed before bigger problems appear. So train it deliberately. Walk while reciting grocery items. Fold laundry while listening to something educational and summarizing it out loud. Practice simple coordination drills while counting backward. These small exercises keep your brain from becoming too narrow and too passive. And if this is already giving you a new way to think about aging, Pause for a moment and subscribe. You a new way to think about aging. Pause for a moment and subscribe, because we are only halfway through and the most powerful signs are still ahead. Number 4. You can read ordinary text clearly enough to stay engaged with the world. I am not talking about perfection. Many healthy older adults wear glasses. That is normal. What matters here is whether your vision is being cared for well enough that you remain connected to reading, faces, movement, and detail. Vision is not just convenience. It is brain input. When visual input weakens, the brain receives less stimulation from the world around it. Faces become less distinct. Reading becomes tiring. Movement feels less secure. Social confidence can start to shrink. Over time, reduced sensory input can quietly accelerate withdrawal, confusion, and cognitive slowing. Your eyes are not separate from brain health. They are part of the same living network. That is why protecting vision matters so deeply for healthy aging. And vision does more than help you see. It helps you orient. It helps you judge distance, interpret expression, read danger, notice opportunity, enjoy beauty, and stay emotionally connected to your environment. When vision fades and is not supported, people do not just see less. They participate less. Get your eyes checked regularly. Correct what can be corrected. Reduce unnecessary strain. Spend time outdoors in natural light. Eat foods that support retinal health, especially dark leafy greens, colorful vegetables, eggs, and fish. Good vision helps keep the brain active, curious, and oriented. Number 3. You can remember a short list after a delay. Imagine someone tells you 4 things to bring from the store. 30 minutes later, can you still recall them without writing them down? That ability may sound ordinary, but it reflects something extraordinarily important: the health of short-term memory becoming lasting, usable memory. This process relies heavily on the hippocampus, a brain structure deeply involved in memory formation. When the hippocampus is functioning well, new information can be stored and retrieved. When it begins to struggle, people may still sound normal in conversation, but they start noticing that information evaporates quickly unless it is repeated or written down. That is why delayed recall matters. It is one of the most practical windows into cognitive vitality. Memory is not only about storage, it is also about attention, emotion, sleep, repetition, and meaning. If the brain is distracted, exhausted, or uninterested, memory weakens. If the brain is alert, emotionally engaged, and given a reason to care, memory performs much better. That is encouraging, because it means memory can be supported from multiple directions. You can strengthen it. Memorize short lists. Retell what you read after finishing an article. Learn poetry, prayers, lyrics, or phone numbers. Use spaced repetition. And most importantly, stay mentally engaged with things that matter emotionally, because memory improves when the brain cares about what it is learning. A bored brain remembers poorly. An interested brain remembers far better. Number 2, you still feel genuine anticipation for something ahead. This is the one almost nobody expects, and yet it is one of the clearest signs that the mind is still richly alive. Do you still look forward to anything? A visit from family? A favorite meal? A walk in the morning? A class? A trip? A conversation? A book? A garden blooming? Something next week? Something tomorrow? Something later today? When people lose the ability to look forward, something profound has changed. This is not just about personality. It is not simply whether someone is cheerful or quiet. Anticipation reflects motivation circuits, emotional engagement, dopamine activity, and future-oriented thinking. It tells us the brain is still reaching forward into life. This matters because one of the quiet tragedies of unhealthy aging is not only weakness or forgetfulness. It is emotional flattening. The future stops feeling magnetic. Novelty no longer calls. Plans feel pointless. And when that happens, physical decline often accelerates too, because people move less, connect less, and challenge themselves less. I want to say this gently but clearly. A person can be medically stable and still be slipping in a dangerous way if they no longer feel drawn toward anything. The world becomes gray before it becomes empty. That loss of anticipation is often dismissed as normal aging, but it should never be ignored. The desire to greet tomorrow is one of the deepest markers of life inside the nervous system. But the opposite is also true. When you still feel meaningfully drawn toward something ahead, your brain is practicing hope, planning, reward, and engagement. That is neurological vitality in action. So protect anticipation. Schedule something to look forward to every single week. It does not need to be expensive or dramatic. It could be lunch with a friend, trying a new recipe, visiting a new park, hearing live music, reading a new book, or calling someone you love. The size of the event matters less than the fact that your inner life is still leaning toward tomorrow. And now number 1, the most powerful sign of all. You can recover relatively quickly from ordinary physical stress. A short cold, a tiring day, one poor night of sleep, a demanding weekend, a minor strain. Does your system bounce back in a reasonable amount of time, or do small stressors throw you off for days and days? Recovery speed may be the clearest real-world signal of physiological resilience. Resilience is the body's ability to return to balance after disruption. It depends on immune strength, nervous system flexibility, muscle reserves, metabolic health, sleep quality, hydration, and emotional stability. In other words, it is not one system, it is the orchestra. When resilience is strong, the body absorbs stress and comes back. When resilience is weak, even small hits become major setbacks. That is when aging starts to feel steep. This is why recovery deserves so much more attention than people give it. Anyone can look functional on a good day. The deeper question is, what happens after challenge? Can your system restore itself? Think about 2 people of the same age. Both catch a mild cold. One feels off for 2 days, rests, hydrates, sleeps, and returns to baseline. The other is still depleted 2 weeks later, moving less, sleeping poorly, feeling discouraged, and losing momentum. That difference is not just inconvenience, it is biology revealing how much reserve the body still has. To build resilience, protect the foundations relentlessly, prioritize sleep, eat enough protein, strength train at an appropriate level, walk often, spend time in morning light, maintain close relationships. Do not let stress become your permanent climate. The body heals best when it feels safe, nourished, challenged, and well-rested. And when you step back and look at this whole list, something beautiful becomes clear. Healthy aging is not one mysterious gift given to a lucky few. It is a pattern, a living pattern of strength, balance, memory, endurance, adaptability, sensory connection, motivation, and recovery. That means aging is not just about years, it is about systems, and systems can be supported. If you can still get up from the floor, balance steadily, walk with endurance, think and move together, stay visually engaged, remember what matters, feel anticipation, and recover well, then your body is telling a hopeful story. It is telling you that function is still alive, capacity is still alive, possibility is still alive. And if some of these areas are weaker than you want them to be, hear me clearly. That does not mean the story is over. It means you have found your starting point. Too many people assume that aging means surrender. But the human body remains surprisingly responsive much later in life than most people have ever been told. Muscles respond to training. Balance responds to repetition. Memory responds to challenge. Mood responds to meaning. Sleep responds to rhythm. Recovery responds to better inputs. And I want to make one more point before we close, because this is where so many people misunderstand aging. They think the body fails all at once. It usually does not. It drifts. First, a little less strength, then a little less confidence, then fewer walks, fewer outings, fewer invitations accepted, fewer challenges attempted, less laughter, less novelty, less recovery. The loss often arrives disguised as caution, and caution slowly becomes confinement. That is why these 8 signs matter so much. They do not just tell you how healthy you are today, they tell you which direction your life is moving. If you can identify a weak point early, you can intervene early. If balance is slipping, train balance. If endurance is falling, walk more. If memory feels foggier, challenge it on purpose. If you can identify a weak point early, you can intervene early. If balance is slipping, train balance. If endurance is falling, walk more. If memory feels foggier, challenge it on purpose. If nothing sounds exciting anymore, rebuild anticipation deliberately. You do not have to wait for a crisis to begin caring for your future. In fact, the smartest time to act is before the emergency, before the fracture, before the hospitalization, before the long season of doubt. I have seen people transform their trajectory in their 70s simply by becoming consistent with basics they once dismissed as too small to matter. 10 minutes of walking became 30. Sitting all day became short movement breaks every hour. Poor sleep became a protected routine. Isolation became one weekly lunch, then 2 phone calls, then a renewed social life. Progress did not arrive overnight, but it arrived. And when it arrived, it changed not only their health, but their identity. They stopped seeing themselves as fragile and started seeing themselves as trainable again. That word matters to me, trainable, because it means you are not finished. It means your body is still listening. It means your brain is still adapting. And it means that, with patience and repetition, you can build a version of later life that feels steadier, clearer, stronger, and more fully your own. So please do not hear this list as judgment. Hear it as a map. Maps are hopeful. They show you where you are, where you want to go, and what path still remains open. Healthy aging is not about winning a contest against time. It is about keeping your freedom, your confidence, your relationships, and your sense of self for as long as possible. You do not need perfection. You need direction. So start small, but start honestly. Test yourself. Which of these 8 abilities feels strongest for you right now? Which one needs work? Choose one this week. Not all 8, just one. Train it with consistency, patience, and self-respect. Then add the next. Because independence is not only practical, it is deeply personal. It is being able to stand in your kitchen and pour your own coffee. It is walking outside without fear. It is trusting your mind in conversation. It is feeling that tomorrow still contains something worth meeting. That is what healthy aging is really about, not pretending time is not passing, but proving that life can still be full of capability, dignity, and momentum as it does. If this message gave you hope, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And in the comments, tell me which of these 8 signs surprised you the most and which one you are going to strengthen first. I am Dr. Sophia Lagana. Take care of your body, protect your brain, and remember this. The real goal is not simply to live longer. The goal is to remain fully, vibrantly alive in